His felony charges after being accused of tampering with a burial.
And that story leads this late edition of Channel 2 News.
This is Channel 2 News at 10 with Ann Holt, Bob Mueller, Davis Nolan's weather, and Steve Phillips on sports.
Good evening, everyone. A Robertson County funeral director is facing some unusual charges tonight. Bobby Wilkes, owner of Barber's Funeral Home in Milldale, Tennessee, is charged with attempting to commit a felony by obtaining money under false pretenses. The story began yesterday with the burial of 39-year-old Danny Pitt. Shortly after the funeral, a witness said he observed funeral director Wilkes taking the vault that Pitt's casket was to be buried in. This morning, the grave was checked for the missing vault, and no vault was found. Mr. Pitt's family swore out a warrant against Wilkes this afternoon. If he's convicted, Wilkes faces 3 to 10 years in prison. 6 construction workers are recovering from injuries they received in a construction accident in Livingston this afternoon. Authorities say the 6 were working on a building when a crane snapped some power lines. The wires fell to the ground and struck the workers. All were taken to Livingston Regional Hospital, where 3 were treated and released. Walter F. Boer and Jerry Murphy are listed in stable condition. Alan Steele was transferred to the Vanderbilt Burn Unit, where he is listed in fair condition. Ann?
Cheatham County officials are searching for a Madison man in connection with an apparent homicide. Van Lee Thomas is wanted for questioning in the possible murder of his stepfather, 48-year-old Albert Gilbo. Police found blood and 6 spent cartridges from a pistol at Gilbo's Pingrove home last week, but no body. Neighbors say the stepson always carried a pistol around his waist and was last seen at Gilbo's home last Friday.
The cops came. He left about 4 or 5 o'clock that morning.
Sheriff's deputies continued their search for Gilbo's body today, but turned up nothing. They are also looking for Van Thomas's car, a green Oldsmobile, which was seen at the apparent murder site last week. Nashville victims of violent crime held a candlelight vigil tonight. The group knows from personal experience about the trauma and the tragedy that violent crime can bring. Channel 2's Art Sassy reports now the group hopes to turn their experiences into something positive for future victims.
You don't know what it is to lose a child. Never know.
Christine and Wesley Flatt lost their son in a gruesome murder just last year. 44-year-old Sammy Flatt left behind his wife and 3 sons, including young Ryan, when he went to pick up a rent check, only to suffer a savage knifing and beating. The murderer received a 6-year sentence for manslaughter and is eligible for parole in 19 months.
I want him to stay in the jail as long as I live. I don't want to see him out walking the streets for what he's done to my son.
Our families have been desecrated by the acts of violent criminals.
The Flatts came to tonight's Victim of Violent Crimes program to band together with others who have shared similar tragedies and now share similar demands for justice.
Victims and survivors of victims are full of anger, hatred, grief, frustration towards a system.
The small but determined group listened to Mayor Bill Boner and representatives from the district attorney's office and the state, all emphasized with their concerns. But the best news probably came from a repeated pledge to push for a victim's Bill of Rights in Tennessee. The group held a candlelight vigil in memory of violent crime victims and later brought the names of victims to representatives from state and local government so that they would not be forgotten. For people like the Flatts, it's a personal fight, but one that could well affect many more.
I just don't want to see him out and kill somebody else's son.
Sammy Flatt would have been 45 this past May. In just 2 more Mays, his killer will be eligible for parole. Art Sassy, Channel 2 News.
Coming up, the defense of Dan Quayle goes right to the top.
And a Middle Tennessee town pays its last respects to a man who for 50 years performed an unusual but essential task.
Very much afraid. Michael is a madman.
This week's vice presidential debate seems to have caused many changes today on the campaign trail. First, the Republicans called on their biggest weapon to defend the debate performance of Dan Quayle. President Reagan told a Michigan audience that Quayle did well in the confrontation with Benson and that the Indiana senators should help carry on the conservative policies of the White House. As for the Democrats, they say their campaign received a much-needed shot in the arm by Lloyd Benson's performance. Benson himself called the debate today a turning point in the campaign. Meanwhile, Dan Quayle rolled into Chattanooga today, throwing roundhouse punches at the top of the Democratic ticket. Like the Democrats, Quayle is still talking about the debate with Lloyd Benson. Today, he recalled his remarks that the U.S. economy was the envy of the world.
Many of our opponents started to laugh and started to snicker. And though our opponents, particularly some that come from Massachusetts and the governor of Massachusetts and his very liberal outlook, I'm sure looks down upon America. But I don't look down on America, and neither does George Bush. We look up to America because we believe that America is and will continue to be the envy of the world.
Quayle told the mostly invited crowd that Michael Dukakis was the worst thing that could happen to the country. Bob?
And every community has people who never become rich or famous. They perform ordinary tasks in extraordinary ways. Tonight, Channel 2's Jim Melchiorre reports on one of those people and the farewell he received from the people who knew him.
They carried Seth Aaron Patton from Oaks and Nichols Funeral Home in Columbia this morning. It was not only the place where he worked for 50 years, it was also his home for the past 38.
S.A. Patton was just like a member of our family.
A lot of people felt that way. S.A. Patton worked as a funeral director and cemetery supervisor for 50 years at Oaks and Nichols, helping with more than 12,000 funerals.
It's old, it's familiar. It has helped a many weary traveler. It has lifted many burden.
The preacher is referring to the 23rd Psalm, but according to those who knew S.A. Patton, he could just as easily have been referring to the man buried here today.
Anything he could do, he would be glad to do it. And he will be sadly missed by everybody.
S.A. Patton helped to fill more than 10,000 graves in his lifetime. He considered it an important ritual, which required respect. Today, some of his former colleagues performed that ritual for him.
And I did it because I know that's what he would want done. And then, too, it saddened me to have to do this for him. But anyway, Mr. Patton, I mean, I would have done it for him any day, any week.
Today, in a family plot in Thompson Station, they wrote the final page in the final chapter of the life of S.A. Patton. Not a famous person, but one whose 77 years obviously touched many, both in death and in life. Jim Melchiorre, Channel 2 News, Thompson Station.
Davis Nolan is taking the evening off. Mitzi Oxford joins us now to bring us up to date on the weather. For a while tonight, I was a little worried. All that rain in New York looked like we might...
I know how disappointed you were because we didn't get that game in, but I'm sure it'll happen tomorrow. They had a lot of storms up there, and it just kept raining and raining. It's still raining up there, but we haven't seen a cloud in the sky here.
That's
Beautiful.
nice.
Nice night out. Stars are out.
All of our games, all the football games tomorrow, the weather should be A-OK for. So if you want to go out and root for your favorite team, you'll have picture-perfect weather to do that in. And we'll get to the forecast and see what you can expect for the rest of the weekend. Let's check temperatures outside right now. Most of them across Middle Tennessee holding in the 50s, but it has dropped down to 42 degrees around Paducah and 45 in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Other than that, though, we're looking at mostly clear skies throughout the whole area, and the temperatures will be dropping another 10 degrees or so by morning. Let's check out temperatures from earlier today. Our high made it up to 66, low this morning 48. The cloud cover that you saw, that's why the temperatures were a little bit warmer this morning. Sunset at 6:22. Sunrise in the morning, 6:47. No rain, of course, since midnight. And right now, clear 53, humidity 61%. A little bit more moisture in the air. Winds northwest at 5, and the barometer reads 30.39 and rising. And this is what the southeastern satellite picture looked like earlier today. We saw the clouds coming in early this morning. Boy, it looked like it was going to turn out to be a rotten day early this morning, but it didn't take long for that cloud cover to just move right on through, and high pressure started building in behind it, And as a result, it turned out to be a gorgeous day. And I just dropped this, which changes over the next map, so I had to pick it up so we could get to the rest of the weather. And since we got that out of the way, we'll take a look at the national radar and see some scattered showers back to the west of us across New Mexico, parts of Arkansas, a few scattered showers moving in there. But the bulk of the rain has been right up and down the eastern coast. And New York, of course, the game got rained down, and it looks like that rain is going to continue throughout most of tonight. But here's what's affecting our weather. High pressure, and boy, is it strong. As a result, a few of those scattered showers that you saw on the radar picture are not going to be making their way into here because the high pressure created a ridge today, and it's going to continue to hold tomorrow as it slowly but surely moves in and swings across the southeast. That's going to keep our skies clear. In the meantime, we're seeing a little bit of a stationary front that's going to be building up in the southwest across northern Texas, so they'll get a rain and maybe even a few thunder showers, and those will start to creep in a little bit further. Now, by Sunday, we're going to see that front kind of fall apart a little bit, but there'll still be an area of low pressure or kind of a low-pressure trough. And what that's going to mean is the rain is going to push them in a little bit closer, maybe even through western Tennessee by Sunday night. But high pressure is still going to be dominating our weather most of Sunday, so we should have another nice day. Now, temperatures on Saturday will be mostly in the 60s across middle Tennessee, so beautiful day with lots of sunshine, and then by Sunday could even hit the 70-degree mark. Our forecast in detail looks like this. Tonight we're calling for clear skies and cool temperatures with a low leveling out around 40 degrees. And then tomorrow, another day of sunshine with a high zooming up to 67 and a low of 44. And looking ahead through the rest of the weekend and on in through next week, we'll be getting a degree or so warmer just about each day, and the nighttime lows will be holding in the mid-40s. Now, those lows are about 5 degrees cooler than they should be for this time of year, so maybe a jacket at night, but boy, the afternoons are going to more than make up for that because they are just going to be gorgeous with only a cloud or two in the sky through midweek next week.
That sounds great, and we can look forward to the leaves changing colors.
I would say I had a couple of calls about that, as a matter of fact, last week, and it looks like towards the 3rd, 4th week in October. As long as we're getting these cool nights, though, that kind of speeds that process up, so it'll be nice traveling weather.
I don't care if they change colors. I wish they wouldn't fall in my yard. Coming up in sports, as Mitzi said, Mother Nature takes Game 3 of the National League playoffs.
And Mike Tyson takes a knockout punch from his wife, Robin Givens.
Game 3 was a game for the Ducks, huh?
Well, if we've got the Duck race tomorrow,
That's right.
so the Ducks probably could have gone right across Shea Stadium. I don't think they would have been going like they'll go in the river. Yes, it did, and the game was rained out. It's going to create some problems tomorrow for you who plan to watch the football game.
It's going to be delayed.
It will be tape delayed after tomorrow night's news if you plan to watch the game, which was Alabama and Ole Miss here on Channel 2. Yeah, because the baseball game starts at 11. Now, if you tuned in to catch some of the baseball game tonight, it has been postponed, as we mentioned. Game 3 of the National League Series between the Mets and the Dodgers rained out, rescheduled for 11 a.m. tomorrow. Channel 2 will show the game tomorrow at 11 o'clock. The football game will be tape delayed and shown after our news tomorrow evening. Now, the American League Series had the day off anyway. They will play tomorrow night out in Oakland at 7 o'clock. That game also on Channel 2. Well, the rumor had been circulating for a long time. Today, the New York Yankees made it official. They fired manager Lou Piniella and named Dallas Green as the team's new skipper, the 16th manager in the 15 years under owner George Steinbrenner. Also today, the Chicago White Sox fired manager Jim Fregosi over philosophical differences. Fregosi took over in the mid-1986 season when the Sox fired Tony La Russa. Well, the high school football campaign is past the halfway point already. It is the time of year traditional rivals begin to play. Tony Troiano has more on one such game between Glencliff and Hillsboro.
This was certainly not the best played game of the year. Numerous penalties slowed the contest and both offenses. Glencliff's Gerald Jackson with a lot of second effort, picking up good yardage. Quarterback Alan Wells kept on the option, and the Colts were threatening. But Hillsboro held, and Jeff Clark trotted on the field and drilled a 32-yard field goal. On the first play after the kickoff, Hillsboro quarterback Mose Phillips has trouble with the snap. He fumbles, Glencliff recovering. This led to another field goal by Clark. From 40 yards away, he split the uprights, and the Colts were on the board again. Hillsboro suffered another turnover moments later. Phillips throws into the flat, but Trent Hope was there for the interception. He returned deep into Borough territory. It was only a matter of time before Glencliff was on the board. Gerald Jackson getting the points, the Colts would go for 2. Wills kept the ball and went airborne over the final few yards. It was a long night for the Burros. Their moments of glory were few and far between. Glencliff wins 14-6. Tony Troiano, Channel 2 Sports.
Through the AAA scores, Ryan still undefeated. They knock off Overton 14-7. It was Hendersonville upsetting Hunters Lane 31-20. Whites Creek blank Pearl-Cohn 14-0. MBA over Hillwood 21-7. McGavock takes Mount Juliet 37-22. As you saw, Glencliff a winner over Hillsboro. No score from the Antioch-Brentwood game. Maplewood's first win of the year at the expense of Good Pasture 20-7. Stratford 33-8 over Smyrna. Gallatin on the road beating Germantown 20-14. Lebanon cruising along unbeaten after they crushed Manchester 49-0. But look at this one. Oakland, top ranked in the state, losing tonight to Lincoln County 19-0. No score from the Shelbyville-Riverdale game. Franklin County blank Sparta 35-0. Warren County 19-8 over Tullahoma. It was Beach beating Clarksville Northeast 17-6. Marshall County big 47-6 over Laverne. Dixon County and Franklin, this one may have set a record. No penalties called in this game. 21-7 Dixon County. Giles County loses to Columbia 35-14. And in overtime, Lawrence County beat Cookeville 28-27. Double-A, David Lipscomb hosted as Zell Harding. This one was a mismatch all the way. On their first possession, the Mustangs scored. Paul Glenn gets the call on the option play. He races 66 yards for the touchdown and a 7-0 David Lipscomb lead. Zell Harding gambled on 4th down inside their own territory. They lost, and Lipscomb made them pay. Joey Deep went 13 yards to make it 13-0. Second quarter now, Lipscomb ahead 23-zip. The Mustangs barrel through and block Zell Harding's punt. Phil Sanders would recover at the 10-yard line. A few plays later, it is Deep again, this time going around the right side for 4 yards for the score as Lipscomb went on to win it big. The Mustangs also won our Food for Families Challenge. They had more than 8,000 cans of food. They won the game big, 44-14 over Zell Harding tonight. Brentwood Academy still undefeated. They cruised past Christian County of Kentucky 42-zip. In the fourth, Waverly is leading Battleground 14-7. White House a 20-9 winner over Page. It was Smith County beating Macon County 49-8. DeKalb County shutting out Watertown 27-0. No score from Hickman County Greenbrier or Joe Burns Montgomery Central. McEwen 28-6 over Houston County. East Robertson a 19-6 winner over Stewart County. Franklin Road Academy upset tonight. The top-ranked team, or one of the top teams in Single A. They fall to Moore County 21-14. Donaldson Christian beats Auburndale 46-18. Davidson Academy blank Red Boiling Springs 52-0. Nashville Christian Spring Hill no score. Huntland over TPS 28-12. Gordonsville in a wild one beats Westmoreland 30-29. Harpeth 42-16 over Fairview. No score Loretto and Collinwood, and Baxter not on the board beat Cannon County 20-12. Heavyweight champ Mike Tyson and actress Robin Givens are divorcing. Givens told Barbara Walters last week on ABC's 2020 that living with Tyson was torture.
And just recently I've become afraid. I mean, very, very much afraid. Michael is a manic depressive. He is. I mean, that's just a fact. And
2 days after that interview had aired, police were called to Tyson's New Jersey mansion, apparently after he threw furniture out of the window. No complaint signed at the time, but divorce proceedings apparently will get underway.
Busy night in sports.
Certainly was.
Thanks, Steve. We'll be right back with the mayor's answer to Where's the Beef? In his career, Bill Boner has worn many hats, that of a state representative, that of a U.S. congressman, and that of a mayor. Today, Bill Boner donned the hat of a chef. Fry cook may be more appropriate. The mayor showed off his culinary talents by frying up burgers and fries at the McDonald's on 5th Avenue. Boner was taking part in Founders Day at the restaurant. The rookie chef had to go through a quick training course before he was turned loose, but by the time he finished, he had it down and wore his new nickname, McMayor, proudly.
He looked pretty comfortable doing that, didn't he?
Second career, I guess.
Well, tomorrow morning when you start today at breakfast.
Well, continuing with food, we're serving up clear skies with your bacon and eggs in the morning, and the temperature should be a chilly 40 degrees. The rest of the week looking pretty good. A slow warm-up.
See, politicians need to have something in the bank because you just never know. That wraps up another week of Channel 2 News. We'll see you back here next week. Join John Clark and Lauren Terry for Channel 2 News this weekend.
Good evening.